All right. A triangular prism is the next shape we're going to try and find the volume of. Now, a lot of people get mixed up between a triangular prism and a pyramid because a pyramid has triangles. A triangular prism also has triangles. One good way that I like to think about the difference is a prism is the same shape whether you turn it upside down or not. Like if I flipped over a prism and you didn't know that I flipped it over, you would think it's the same thing, right? If it's just the prism shape. Whereas a pyramid, if you were to turn a pyramid over on upside down, you would clearly know that it's upside down, right? Because the pointy part would be at the bottom now, and then it wouldn't be able to stand on its own. So a prism is, again, like I like to say, it's like a stretched out shape. It's like you took a shape and you just kept adding layers and layers and layers and layers of that shape to make a 3D shape. So a triangular prism, just like the rectangular prism, is very much the formula is very similar to that. So let's start by drawing a triangular prism, or a triangle actually. Let's just start with a triangle. Okay. So there's a triangle. And as you remember on a triangle, we have a base and we also have a height. Remember, height has to be 90 degrees with our base. Always 90 degrees. Okay. Base times height. Now, it wasn't just base times height, though. It was base times height divided by 2. Remember, the area of this shape was base times height divided by 2. Everything with the triangle, you could just think of it as with the same thing with the rectangle, but you divide it by 2. And that's true of our volume formula as well. So let's keep going here. So again, the face of the triangle, if I was just to find the one layer, which is just what you're looking at right now, is base times height divided by 2, right? So this is base times height divided by 2. But remember, we're talking about a 3D shape here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw that next triangle a little bit up and a little bit to the right. I'm going to make those 2 lines dotted. Okay. These don't quite look the same, but they're close. The best, if they were the exact same triangle shape-wise, then it'd be the best. Okay, so we've got base times height, and then just like with the rectangular prism, we're going to multiply that by the length, how many layers we have here. Now, keep in mind this base times height divided by 2. So what you're going to do here is, this is the formula. The formula is volume is equal to base times height times length divided by 2. So you do everything that you just did with rectangular prisms, but then you divide by 2. Right? Because it's basically half. Just think of it as if you were to slice, remember how we sliced a rectangle in half and we made 2 triangles? Just think if you sliced a real full slice all the way across a rectangular prism, you'd end up with a triangular prism. Right? And again, another way some people talk about it is they say, well, it's like the base, this area right here, the base. Okay, times the length, okay, the base area. So the part that I'm highlighting green, again, that's your base times height divided by 2, and then you multiply by the full length. So let's put some numbers here just so you guys can see it and see how simple it is. Let's just say, for example, that the base here was, I don't know, let's say the base was 8 meters. Let's say the height was 6 meters, and let's say the length was 10 meters. So what are you going to do? You're going to say, okay, 8 base times 6 height times 10 length, all divided by 2. You punch it into your calculator and you get your final answer. So 8 times 6 times 10 divided by 2 is 240 meters cubed. Okay, you'd be able to fit 240 cubed meters, meter by meter, into that shape. That makes sense? Right? It's the same formula, you just divide by 2. Same thing, you just divide by 2. Let's do another one of these just to make sure that we got it, because I know these ones can be a little bit more confusing. All right. So again, yeah, the formula is V. So V stands for volume, right? Volume is equal to base times height times length. Okay, and I'm using a cursive L because I don't want to use a regular lowercase l for 1. So this stands for length, right? All right, let's try another one, just so you guys can get the hang of it. I'm going to draw one that's a vertical up and down triangular prism. So watch how I do this one. This one's kind of cool. This one's kind of tricky. All right, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a triangle that's going to look kind of obtuse. All right, next, draw the exact same triangle, but just a little bit lower, and one of the lines will be dotted. Watch this, okay? So that line will be dotted, but the rest of the triangle will hopefully be the exact same. All right, you guys ready for the part that's going to blow your minds? Here we go. This is the mind-blowing part. Let's change these two triangles into a three-dimensional shape by connecting the corners. Not bad, huh? Not bad. Okay. To make things a little bit easier, let's make this a right triangle here. Just to make things a little bit easier. Okay, so check it out. There's 4 numbers here, which means one of them is not necessary. Not necessary. So let's look back at our example up here. Okay. The base and the height are on the green triangle part, no matter if it's standing straight up or it's flat on its side. Okay, the green triangle is the base. The base of a triangular pyramid is always the base. Think of it like you. No matter if you are standing up or laying down, your feet are still your feet. Right? It doesn't change. It's not like, oh, now his feet is where his head are. Like, no, your feet is your feet. Your head is your head. Whether you're lying down, leaning over, standing straight up, jumping in the air, same thing. So our base and our height are always still going to be the same no matter which way this is facing. We have to look for the 90-degree angle. Okay, so let's go to here. Let's go to the triangle, and we see that 90-degree angle. It's the 3 and the 4. So guess what? That 5 is not important right now. Okay, the 5 will be important later, but for right now, the 5 is not important. That makes sense? Okay, so the 5 does not matter. It's the 3 and the 4. Remember, it's always the sides that make the 90-degree angle. Okay, so my volume is base, which is 3, times my height, which is 4. Oops, sorry about that. times my length. And this right here is the length of the whole shape. This is my length. The 5 is not important right now. We don't need that one right now. Remember, though, it's a triangular prism, so you are going to divide by 2. Okay? So just think of those 3 numbers and then divide by 2. On your IXL, you're only going to look at the ones that are more like the first example, but I want to show you the second example just so you can kind of see it. So you can, I don't want you to think I can only look at a triangular prism one way. Okay? You can look at it multiple ways. Okay, put in your calculator, multiply. 3 times 4 times 6 divided by 2 is 36 inches cubed. So again, if you really want to oversimplify it, you just multiply the 3 numbers there, base times height times length, divide by 2. That's all you have to do. So it's just like the ones we did rectangular prisms, except you have to make sure you divide by 2. Okay. The tricky part with triangles is, again, making sure you know which numbers you're supposed to multiply with. So sometimes, like this one, I gave you a number that you didn't need. But I think on all the ones you have to do today for homework, you just need to multiply those numbers. Now, there's one other type of problem on the IXL that once you get kind of higher, sorry, I had a question in the chat. So that 2 is dividing by 2 on the equation. So this 2 right here is dividing by 2. That's what's happening there. You're dividing by 2. Remember, because it's a triangular prism, so you're always dividing by 2. All right. Now, there's one other type of problem that's if you really get up to it on the IXL, which is a little bit harder. So let's do this, which is it's called what's the missing length? Okay, so find missing length. I'll put it here. All right, so I'm going to draw another triangular prism here. Sorry, this one's not very pretty. And let's say we knew, for example, we knew that this length was 8 centimeters, and we knew that this length, or this height, okay, was 5 centimeters. But we didn't know this length. The other thing we knew is that the volume, okay, we knew that the volume is 200. So the question is, could we find the missing length? Could we find the missing length? Could we find what we don't know on this last side here, the L? And the answer is, of course. Check it out. Now, again, this is a pretty hard problem, but I just wanted to make sure you guys kind of know to do it because some of you might reach this level here. All right, so this is what we're going to do. Set up the formula. Volume is equal to base times height times length divided by 2. Next, fill in all of the numbers that you know. Okay, fill in all the numbers that you know. So I know 8 centimeters is my base. I know that 5 centimeters is my height. I know that the volume is 200. What I don't know, and I know I'm going to divide by 2, what I don't know is the length. I still don't know that part. So now I'm going to solve it, but I have to kind of go backwards. I have to remember how do I solve the equations. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say, well, the first thing I'm going to do is I want to get rid of that 2 on the bottom. So it's dividing by 2, so I need to do the opposite, which is multiply by 2 on both sides. That cancels the 2 here, and that makes 400 is equal to 8 times 5 times L. Next, I can just simplify now, and I can finish my equation. I can say, well, 8 times 5, that's 40. So 40 times L is equal to 400. And then my last step then is to divide by 40 on both sides, right? If I divide by 40 on both sides, my 40s cancel out, and I'm left with L is equal to 10. So I found my length. This is a tough problem. You have to kind of go backwards. You just have to think, okay, what am I missing, right? Now let's plug it in and see, right? Because if I do, let's check it. If I did 5 base times height, 8 times 5 times 10 divided by 2, I should end up with 200. Is that true? Is that the volume, right? Try and do that in your calculator. 8 times 5, so base times height times length, because I said the length is equal to 10, divided by 2 is 200. And that does check out when I put it in my calculator. All right, so this is a real tough problem, trying to find the missing length. You have to kind of think backwards. You have to undo what you normally would do. Normally, I would just multiply the 3 numbers, then divide by 2. So I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to multiply by 2 and then do the other numbers. So triangular prisms are a little bit trickier. Again, this is the hardest problem kind of here, trying to find the missing length. But what I really want you to focus on is actually way back up this first example of, again, base times height times length divided by 2. Okay, so if there's anything that you need to really focus on is this part here. Okay, especially top part here. Base times height times length divided by 2. Make sure you divide by 2. And you should be in no trouble at all. Okay, so again, triangles are just half of rectangles. So the formula is the same as rectangle, just divide by 2.